Hello, this is AINtv and I'm Charles Alcock in Orlando, Florida for the 2012 NBAA convention. Well, Hurricane Sandy passed by over the weekend, but it's now headed north, clearing the way for preparations for this 65th annual show. Organizers are expecting more than 26,000 attendees, and they will have in excess of 1,000 exhibitors to visit. And out at the Orlando Executive Airport, over 100 aircraft are being prepared for inspection. We'll be featuring all the highlights of that in our exclusive video coverage of the NBAA show. In fact, some of the aircraft are on show right here outside the convention center itself in a new static display area. We'll be bringing you all the top news stories this week, including, we believe, news of at least 3 new jet models to be announced. So stay tuned for that at AINtv.com. But these continue to be challenging times for the business aviation community. Trading conditions took a turn for the worse 4 years ago around the time of the 2008 NBAA show, and they've still to fully recover. Here on the eve of this year's show, we're joined by NBAA President Ed Bolen. Thanks, Ed, for joining us. Very kind to do that. And on the eve of the show, What's your take on the mood of people gathering here for their annual convention? Do you think the industry can see beyond the so-called bumping along the bottom phase of the economic cycle?
Well, I've talked to a lot of people who are really looking forward to this NBAA. You know, it's always a great time for people to market products, to announce new products and services, and I think we'll have quite a bit of that. You know, this is a very resilient industry, and I think its commitment to the future is probably best seen in the fact that so many companies have invested in research and development and new products, despite the fact that the economy these last 4 years has been pretty rocky. So, yeah, I think people will be in a looking forward mood, and I think they're taking a lot of steps to be able to take advantage of a recovery in the economy.
That's great. So that's action speaking for the optimism that they have. Now, as an association, of course, you're still dealing with many issues. One of those is the threat of user fees. It won't seem to go away. Do you think that issue can ever be nailed down completely and you can move on from that?
Well, you know, user fees are a really bad idea. And I've told people in Washington, D.C., it's pretty hard to kill a bad idea. They just keep coming back. Fortunately, I think we've made tremendous progress over the past several years. A number of people on Capitol Hill have come to understand the issue, have been outspoken. We've had hundreds of members of the House of Representatives sign letters in opposition to it, a lot of mayors around the country. So I think we've built the case on why user fees are bad, but there will be constant pressure to find new revenue from our industry. And because of that, I expect it to continually resurface.
Point. And another idea I know you think is a bad one is the whole notion of removing bonus depreciation for business aircraft. That appears to have reared its head during presidential election campaigning. Why is it that you think it's such a threat to business aviation sales that customers won't have that tax break available?
Well, one thing I think, whether it's our industry or any other, we've seen that short depreciation cycles stimulate sales. And that's why bonus depreciation has been part of Congress's recovery legislation, both after the 2002, 2003 recession and the 2009 recession. We know that short depreciation schedules stimulate sales. So if shorter stimulate sales, the presumption would be longer would take away sales. We know shorter works, we want to keep it shorter.
We'll have more for you on what convention speakers such as FAA Acting Administrator Michael Huerta have to say, plus reaction from industry leaders. That's coming up here at AINtv.com. And AIN's reporters will have in-depth coverage of all the news from the NBAA show. You can get that around the clock at AINonline.com, including via our new app for all Apple iOS devices. And if you're here in Orlando this week, be sure to pick up a copy of AIN's NBAA convention news every day. For AINtv, I'm Charles Alcock, and thank you for watching.